If I told you to go ahead and throw away $5 or $10 every single week right in the garbage, would you do that? Probably not. But here we are throwing away our half a bag of spinach we didn't use and our old brown bananas. So in this video, I'm going to show you all the different ways that I save money by reducing my waste, and I think you're going to be excited about some of these. Let's get started. So with bananas, I find that once they're ripe, you can actually put them right in your produce drawer, and that will slow down the ripening process. So the outside will turn brown, but the inside will be nice and ripe for several more days, which keeps it from going so bad that you just can't stomach it anymore. So just put it in the fridge when it's to the ripeness that you like. I used to throw away a lot of different produce because I thought I had to process everything before throwing it in the freezer. And so I would never have the time and I would just throw it away. But then I discovered I can throw like whole bags of spinach right in the freezer, and it works great for adding to soups or pasta. Same thing goes for like this little bag of bell peppers, small bell peppers. I can just freeze them whole just like this. Even the big bell peppers work great. I just recommend leaving them out on the cutting board for about 10 minutes so they're soft enough to cut with a nice sharp knife, and just don't let them thaw all the way before cooking with them because then they get kind of mushy. So the sweet spot is just to dice them right away and get them in your cooking pot right away so that way they turn out great. So I recommend doing that. Also, things like diced bell peppers work great. Whole jalapenos work great too. These are from the garden. Also been freezing diced onions. Whole ginger is another one. Garlic cloves, just peel. Oops, sorry, fridge. I'll be quick. Just peel the garlic. Okay, I hear you. I'll close you in a second. Just peel the garlic and then put it in an airtight container and put it in the freezer. Also, if you have a veggie tray, you can just put all of those veggies in a bag and throw that in the freezer too. You can use those for stir fry later. Lemons can actually go directly in the freezer whole, but I find that I tend to use them more if I just do the squeezing of all the lemon juice and then putting them in an ice cube tray and throwing those in the freezer too. And you can also save the lemon rinds for all kinds of things like making your own disinfectant or sanitizer or cleaner. I'm not sure if it disinfects, but you can just add the lemon rinds to vinegar and let that kind of sit on the counter for a week or so in an airtight container like a glass jar or something like that and make your own cleaner. Although it doesn't work great on natural stone because lemon juice and vinegar are both highly corrosive. So just be careful using that. But you can save the lemon rinds separately in an airtight container. You can throw them in the freezer whole, or you can juice them and save the juice like this in little squares too. I have a little bit of chocolate syrup left in my jar, and instead of throwing it out or trying to get it out, I'm going to make a drink. So I've got my espresso here, and hopefully this doesn't break because it's hot. I'm gonna give this a swirl. I'm gonna give this a mix. Then I'm gonna add some milk. And then I'll add some ice. And now I have a perfect little mocha made from home, and now I don't have to waste the rest of that chocolate syrup. Cheers. A really big way that we save is all the leftovers get put in the freezer. I use these things called super cubes, although you could get a brand that's not as expensive, but I find that these ones work much, much better. But you can find them at Aldi sometimes, and there's plenty of knockoff brands. They're just these little silicone trays here where everything is portioned in cubes. This one is the 2 cup, but they have several different sizes. This is my meatless sloppy joe. I just put this in here. We only had 2 portions left, and then we can have this week with some of this hot honey cornbread. I found this cornbread on sale at Aldi for 25 cents. So I went ahead and baked it up and then just put it in muffins here, you can see, and froze it for later. So all of my food ends up going in the freezer at some point, probably almost all of it, because we usually end up with leftovers of something, or I want to bake something and just have it last a lot longer. I'm just going to reheat these in the microwave. But this is a really big way that we reduce waste and save money, as I always have random food on hand that we can eat later. Today for lunch, I'm going to go ahead and heat up some of these freezer meals that I made that are not leftovers. I actually made these 4 freezer meals. These ones are my lazy lasagna. My family doesn't love pasta, so I just went ahead and made this for myself in individual portions. And I also have several other options too, like lentil curry, pot pie, all kinds of things that I just throw in the freezer. I can't wait to see how this goes. I used a red lentil pasta for this, and then I also used a chickpea pasta. So I don't remember which one these ones are, but it doesn't matter. It's gonna turn out great either way. All right, so I am heating up this lazy lasagna, and I've gone ahead and mixed it up a few times, but it actually turned out really good looking. I think I'm going to try baking it too and see how that turns out, but I'm really pleased with how this turned out so far, and I'm excited to see how it tastes. Of course, you can bake it as well afterwards with a little bit of cheese on top, and I think that would be incredible. But I'm excited to see that the pasta didn't just completely fall apart after reheating it, so that's awesome. Okay, this turned out to be a really, really good freezer meal, and I'm excited that it worked out really well in the microwave. So if you haven't done the lazy lasagna with cottage cheese, give it a try, but I do recommend using the chickpea pasta or lentil pasta because it does hold up a lot better in freezer meals, in my opinion. Wow, that's really good. For one of the dinners this week, I made my favorite loaded sweet potatoes, which I'll show you in a future video, but I decided to go ahead and try out this peeler my grandma gave me a couple months ago for my birthday, and I hadn't tried out yet. It was so fun and so easy. It's going to make peeling sweet potatoes so much faster and easier, and peeling a lot of other things too. But I learned from Plant U that you can actually use the peels to make a really fun and delicious sort of baked crispy potato skin dish. And for me, I'm just going to use the seasonings and oils that I like. So I'm just going to use avocado oil and toss that with salt and pepper and chili powder, put that on a baking sheet, and then let that bake. Although you got to keep a really close eye on it because at 425 it bakes so fast. But luckily I was able to find some that didn't get all too toasty, and they were really, really delicious. So in my household, if berries and other fruit is not prepped and ready to eat, it will go bad. So right when I get home from the store, I like to take all of my berries out, wash them, and get them in an airtight container. Let me show you what I do. So first I'm going to look through all of my berries and remove any that are questionable, maybe on the verge of going bad, or any that are obviously moldy. So I'll remove those. I'm going to get those in a colander and put them in a bowl. So first I'll rinse everything out with cold water in a colander, and then I'll place the colander with the berries directly in this bowl, top it with 3 parts water and 1 part white vinegar. Then I'm just going to let that sit for a few minutes. Then I'll air dry it on a paper towel or a clean kitchen towel. Then I'm going to put that in an airtight container. So here's my blackberries in an airtight container. I'll put this in the refrigerator and it'll last a few days. It lasts a lot longer when I wash it too. I just find that they don't go bad as quickly. I've got my blueberries here as well, and as soon as those are a little bit more dry, I'll put them in an airtight container. And you don't have to throw away the vinegar and water solution. If you're up for it and it's okay with the manual in your dishwasher, you can put the whole bowl in the dishwasher and then put it on a clean cycle, and that could help deodorize and clean your dishwasher. You can use this to clean other things too if you like to clean with vinegar. So that is an option to kind of reduce your waste even more. As far as cleaning appliances go, I always recommend checking the manual and just making sure it's okay, because vinegar is corrosive, and so I don't recommend just cleaning everything with it. Just check first, because sometimes the gaskets on certain things like clothes washers, they might not be a great idea to wash with vinegar. Just check and make sure it's okay before you try these things that you see on the internet. Of course, I would just hate for something to get damaged. For me, I do what I do at my house, but I always recommend double checking before you try anything that's recommended online. Just a little PSA. Let's grab some food from the freezer tonight. I'm going to be having some hot honey cornbread and some leftover meatless sloppy joes. My kids are going to have leftovers as well. We went to Panera yesterday for my son's birthday, so they have leftovers from there. So my son will be having his mac and cheese, and my daughter will have her ham sandwich. And then we'll just put a few things on the side to go with. Some blackberries on my daughter's plate. I love your music, Betty. And my son brought some carrots home from school, so I'm going to put those on his plate as well. And I have no idea if he's going to eat these, but I'll just put some of these on the side, some cucumber, and I'll put some on my daughter's plate too and see if she'll eat those. Okay, so there are my kids' plates. Sandwich with sides and a little mac and cheese with sides, and we'll see if they want more food after that. Now for me, I'll go ahead and get out 1 cornbread. I'm going to heat that up in the microwave, and just 1 of the individual portions here of my meatless sloppy joes. There we go. Look how cute. All right, let's get that in a bowl. I'll save this other one for my husband for later when he gets home. All right, so here's my leftover meatless sloppy joes. I just added a little bit more mustard for tanginess and then some pickles on the side. And then I've got my cornbread as well. This is the hot honey cornbread I got for 25 cents at Aldi. So really good deal. I'm excited for this. And after hard boiling eggs, you can use this hot water once it's completely cooled down to water plants. At least that's what I've heard. I've heard that some calcium is in the water as well now, and a lot of plants like that extra calcium, especially things like bell peppers and tomatoes. I'm not an expert gardener, but that is what I have read and what I've heard. And so I'm not exactly how true it is, but you can at least use this to water things. So that's a great way to use that up. And same thing goes for ice bath water, although I would make sure it comes to room temp before putting it in, because ice water could potentially shock the plants. So just be careful with this sort of thing. I've got about a half a cup of peanut butter here in my container, so I'm going to use this up in a different kind of way instead of doing a sandwich. You probably have seen this before on the internet, but I'm going to show you my version. First, I have a large pot of water going so I can boil that and add some pasta. I'm just going to use spaghetti, and then I've got my pan heated here, and then I'm going to add some avocado oil, but you can use any neutral oil or really any oil that you like for this. And I've patted dry some extra firm tofu. I'm just going to add this to the pan. I'm just going to cook this for about 5 or 6 minutes on this side, and then I'll flip it and continue cooking. I just want it to get nice and brown and crispy. And in the meantime, I'm going to make a sauce using the leftover peanut butter. I'm going to add 3 tablespoons of water, about 1/4 cup or 4 tablespoons of soy sauce. I'm using low sodium soy sauce. 4. And then I'll add 3 tablespoons of honey, but you can use maple syrup if you like. 1, 2, 3. I'll add 2 tablespoons of rice vinegar, and 2. I'll add about a half a teaspoon of ground ginger, a half a teaspoon or so of garlic powder, a little bit of red chili flakes. You can adjust this to how much spice you like. And then I like to add a few tablespoons of Sriracha, maybe about 1/4 cup, 2 to 4 tablespoons or so. Just depends on how spicy you like it. Now I'm just going to go ahead and put the lid on and give it a good shake. All right, now our peanut sauce is ready to go. So I'm just going to set this aside and finish cooking everything else, and I'll add this at the end. Okay, so I'm going to check on my tofu here. Some of it's getting a little bit crispy, and if it's not releasing, then you just have to give it a little bit more time, because it'll usually release pretty easily on its own once it's nice and crispy on one side. Okay, so I have the tofu pretty crispy. I'm just going to set it aside. It did stick a little bit. I'm going to try to push this to the side a little bit. You can always remove it from the pan if you have to. I think I just didn't heat my pan properly. All right, so now that's over to the side. I'm going to add some oil here. I'm going to add some frozen broccoli from my freezer. Then I'll add the rest of the veggies. I'm just using zucchini and carrots this time. That's what I have on hand. But usually I use a bag of frozen stir-fried veggies. So I'm definitely crowding the pan here, so we'll see how well this works. Oh, and I want to put some chestnuts in here, so water chestnuts. So I'll get some of those in there. 1 can of water chestnuts. To my bowl, I'm going to add my cooked spaghetti that I've drained. And my veggies are done, so I'm going to add those as well. And I'll give my sauce a shake, and while everything is nice and hot, I'm going to go ahead and add the peanut sauce on top. And I'll give that a good mix, and then we can serve it on up. And that's it. You can add some chopped peanuts on top and some hot sauce. And this is also great cold, or you can reheat it. All the leftovers are great reheated or cold. So I've had it both ways. It's delicious. I hope y'all at least got a little inspiration from this video and discovered some new ways to reduce waste in your home. And if you have any extra tips and tricks, please be sure to leave them in the comments. I'm always learning new things from you all, so be sure to include those too. Now, YouTube thinks you'd like to watch another video wherever that is, so click on it, enjoy it, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye.